Started talking about box plots today, and you learned about box plots last year, but we're going a little bit more in depth this year. So it first starts by asking you, what is this? So what is that right there? That right there is your minimum value. Then the next thing it asks you is, what percent is this right here? So what percent is that right there? 25%. Then it asks you, okay, well, what is this right here? That right there is known as quartile 1. And, oops, sorry, oops. Let's see if I can get that without erasing everything. Okay, and quartile 1 is composed of what percent? 25%. Then this right here is which quartile? That right there is quartile 3. And quartile 3 is made up of what percent? 25%. And then we have this line right here. And what is this line right here? That line right there is the median. And median is also known as what? Quartile 2. Now, this right here, all of this stuff in the box, I could subtract quartile 3 from quartile 1 and find the interquartile range. Then I have this last little bit right here. And what is this last little bit right here composed of? 25% of the data. And then we're going to go off here over to the side. We're going to say that the interquartile range is quartile 3 minus quartile 1. And this right here is your maximum. Okay. Well, first, it starts by showing us a circle graph. It says the circle graph shows the percentage of states in each region in the United States. What is true information about the circle graph? So if we look over here, we've got 28% of the country is southeast, so you got 24% of is Midwest, and so on and so forth. So this question right here says, how many states are in the Northeast region? Well, what do we know about the Northeast region? We know that the Northeast region is composed of 18%. So since it's a percent, I set up a proportion. And nothing changes, so I have a part over whole equals percent over 100. Well, I know that the Northeast is a percent, so that would go in my percent spot, which would be 18. Then, what would my whole be? We're talking about the United States, so what would my whole be? 50, because there are 50 states in the United States. And then my part is x, because I don't know how many states are in the Northeast region. So I would have x over 50 equals 18 over 100. Now, we can scale for this one, or we can cross multiply. I'm going to show cross multiplication. So I'm going to do x times 100, which gives me 100x, equals 50 times 18. 8 times 0 is 0. 8 times 5 is 40. I'm on my next row now, so I add a 0, and 1 times 0 is 0, and then 1 times 5 is 5, and we add it all together, and we find that that equals 900. Then I divide both sides by 100, and I find that it is x equals 9. So there are 9 states. The next question says, how many states are in the West region? So I want you to try to set up your own proportion using the information about the West region. So you should have part over whole equals percent over 100. In this case, the whole is still your 50 states, because that's how many states we know we have. And the percent is going to be how many states or what percent of the states are in the West region, which is 22. And then we don't know what our part is. We rewrite this and we find x over 50 equals 22 over 100. All right, and then I cross multiply, so 50 times 22. 2 times 0 is 0, and then 5 times 2 is 10. I'm on my next row now, so I add a 0, and then 2 times 0 is 0, and 5 times 2 is 10. Add it all together, and that gives me 1,100 equals 100x. Divide both sides by 100, And these zeros cross out, and it leaves you with 11 states. All right, this one says the box plot below shows the number of accidents each week at a busy intersection. Use the box plots to answer questions 2 and 3. So question 2 is just kind of asking for your vocabulary. Now remember, another word for lower extreme is minimum. So looking at your box plot, what is your minimum? The minimum is right here, which would be 6. The next thing it asks for is the median. So what is your median? Remember, your median is right here, so my median is 9. Upper extreme is another word for maximum. And the maximum is located where? The maximum is located right here at 14. Then it asks for the lower quartile. And if you remember, lower quartile is just another word for quartile 1. Well, if we look, here's quartile 1 right here, and what is the value for quartile 1? That is like halfway between the 7 and the 8 right there. So this is going to be 7.5. The upper quartile is another word for quartile 3. And what is quartile 3 located at? Quartile 3 is located at 10.5. And then remember, your interquartile range is quartile 3 minus quartile 1. So what is your interquartile range? We would do 10.5 minus 7.5, and that would give me 3. This says, what quartile has the largest spread of data? So spread is another word for range. So let's go through all of our quartiles. And remember, this right here is quartile 0. This right here is quartile 1, quartile 2, quartile 3, and quartile 4. And I'm actually not going to make you find the spread of all of those. I just want you to tell me what is the longest leg of this. The longest leg right here is this right here. So which one has the biggest data? That would be quartile 4. Quartile 4 is the most spread out, and therefore quartile 4 has the biggest spread. Okay, this one right here, it says find the 5 key values in the interquartile range. So what is the lower extreme? Remember, low extreme is another word for minimum. And my minimum is located right here, which is halfway between 12 and 14. So that makes my lower extreme 13. Then we have our median, and what is our median? Our median is located right here, which is halfway between 20 and 22, so that makes my median 21. Then what is your upper extreme? Our upper extreme is another word for maximum. So our upper extreme is going to be located right here, which is halfway between 26 and 28, so that's going to be 27. And then we have our lower quartile. Remember that our lower quartile is right here at quartile 1. And what is our value for quartile 1? 18. What's our value for the upper quartile? That's another word for quartile 3. And that is located right here between 22 and 24, so that gives me 23. How do I find the interquartile range? I would subtract quartile 3 minus quartile 1, which would give me 23 minus 18, and that's 5. This one says, what percentage of sale calls are longer than past, what percentage of the sale calls are longer than 21 minutes? So I need to go up here and I need to look at 21. Well, located right here at 21 is the median. And remember, this right here is what percent? 25%. And this right here is what percent? 25%. So how many quartiles are past 21? 2 quartiles. Each quartile is how much? 25%. And then since I have 2 quartiles that are both 25%, that gives me a total of what percent? 50%. The last little bit right here tells me to find the area of the figure. Now the first thing we do is we always write down our formula, so let's look at our parallelogram first. My formula for a parallelogram is area equals base times height, and so what would I plug in for this? I would do 20 times 10. And what is 20 times 10? That gives me 200. Then I have the area of my triangle. So remember, areas of triangles are area equals base times height divided by 2. Well, what's my base of my triangle? What is this value that's right here? It doesn't tell me what that value is right there, but I do know that that value right there is equal to this value over here. So what is the base? My base is going to be 10. And then what's my height? 5. All divided by 2. And then what does that give me? That gives me 25. So I know that this right here is 25. And then how do I find the area of the composite figure? I would add 200 plus 25. And that's going to give me 225 centimeters squared.